So welcome, Antoinette. Oh, she's not in yet. So we'll have a few people joining us. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another session, our special session, where we are targeting some topics geared towards parents. And in tonight's topic, we are talking about boys, raising the boy child. And I mean, everyone knows, even globally, in the Caribbean, we are seeing some fallout for young men. And here with us tonight, we have Alvin Brown, who saw the need to do something, as an educator, to build our young men. And so I really would like to take the opportunity to say thank you to Alvin. He is the creator of the Manly Man series, and he can be found on social media. And I'm pretty sure he's going to share some of his social media where you can reach out to him during the evening. But it is really wonderful, a wonderful initiative where, he's really trying to help parents and teachers to build our young men. And so without further ado, because I really want him to take this session over, we want it to be interactive. So if you have questions, comments, go ahead and put it in the chat. And as I mentioned earlier, we do have an official session for questions as we go. And of course, for those of you who are just joining us, let us know where you're joining us from and the context. If you are a parent, how old is your son or sons? And if you're a teacher, what level do you teach at? All right, so Alvin, over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good night, everyone. All right, so let's just dive into everything. You guys can see my screen?
Yes, we are.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to be talking about raising the boy child, celebrating the joys and pitfalls of parenting. And we have them both, right? Life is about balance. So as stated before, I don't have much time, so I'm gonna just be running through and I'm gonna be asking you a few questions as I go along. So I would like your participation. Right, so the Manly Man series started because I recognized when I started teaching that there was a need for young men, youth, and in particular young men, to have positive role models and positive examples of what it means to be a man. And so I started the Manly Man series, where I started doing workshops and seminars, parenting seminars, workshops with young men, and other activities to strengthen relationships between parents and their children, as well as to give the young men and young women a space to have conversations about adulthood and what are the steps to actually get there. So let's dive in. True or false? Men and women think and communicate differently. I would love to hear some answers to that one. Is that a correct statement? Is that an incorrect statement? Men and women communicate differently. Men and women think and communicate differently. Yes, no, maybe. What are your thoughts on that? Don't be shy.
Some comments, very true, correct is right.
All right, so we can say universally that that is a fact. Men and women think and communicate differently. So what we're going to be doing is this. I'm going to be having a conversation as it relates to mothers and sons. I'm going to have a conversation as it relates to fathers and sons. And then we're going to have a conversation on topics that both can appreciate from all angles. If it is that we are saying that men and women communicate differently, which we agree, then my question is, if that is the case, if a man and a woman communicates differently, then
men's brains are very unique. Men's brains are made up
Well,
of
let's listen
little
to this for a
boxes.
second.
And we have a box for everything. We've got a box for the car. We got a box for the money. We got a box for the job. We got a box for you. We got a box for the kids. We got a box for your mother somewhere in the basement. We got boxes everywhere. And the rule is the boxes don't touch. When a man discusses a particular subject, we go to that particular box, we pull that box out, we open the box, we discuss only what is in that box. All right? And then we close the box and put it away, being very, very careful not to touch any other boxes. Now, women's brains are very, very different from men's brains. Women's brains are made up of a big ball of wire. And everything is connected to everything. The money's connected to the car is connected to your job, and your kids are connected to your mother, and everything's connected to everything. And it's like... Now, men, we have a box in our brain that most women are not aware of. This particular box has nothing in it. It's true. It's true. In fact, we call it the nothing box. And of all the boxes a man has in his brain, the nothing box is our favorite box. If a man has a chance, he'll go to his nothing box every time.
All right. So, any false statements made so far? Anything you disagree with? Now, if men and women think differently, is it possible that there may be challenges in communication between mothers and sons? It's a high probability, right? Now, let me give you an example of how men communicate or how men think. Men think in a queue. So there may be a number of things that he wants to get done, and everything will be done in a queue. So as a teacher, on a number of occasions, I will see a young man that is knocking on the desk. And if you tell him to stop knocking on the desk, I guarantee he will knock on the desk at least one more time before he stops knocking on the desk. And it's not because he's being rude. It's because in his brain, that knock was already planned and in process before you said, stop knocking on the desk. So I want you to appreciate that it may seem strange as women, but there are things that a man or a male does that you may find annoying beyond measure, but it is not intended to be viewed in a negative light because it was not intended to be to annoy you intentionally. So, having said that, I'm gonna get back to the communication a little bit in a little bit, but I just want to make you appreciate this. Young men in general need structure. They need a set bedtime, they need a set study time, and they need time for the hobbies. Men and boys need responsibility. They need directions that must be concise. They need consequences that must be consistent and proportional. And they need chores. And we're going to see how the communication and the chores come back together very soon. So men need rules, men need responsibilities, men need structure. And I'll let you in on a little secret. Do you know why men love to watch football on a Saturday? Or they love to go and play cricket? Or they love to watch cricket? Especially 2020. Test cricket, personally, I think is annoying, but that's a different story altogether. Men love games because there is structure, there is rules, there are rules, and there is consistency. If you give a young man, a boy that is growing up, structure, rules, and consistency, he will flourish. That's the reason why he likes to play video games as well, because video games also have structure. If certain things are done, a particular reward is given. Now, they may complain and bawl and have a hissy fit, but no one cares. We're never interested in their comfort. You should never be interested in the comfort of your child. You should be interested in something else, because growth comes through discomfort. When a young man tells his coach, well, he never does, but if he were to be crazy enough to tell his coach that he's tired, the coach will give him extra laps. The coach isn't interested in his comfort. The coach is interested in his growth. As parents, as teachers, we are interested in our sons, our students becoming the best version of themselves, which means that there needs to be growth. And growth is always uncomfortable. And if growth is uncomfortable, then we can't be interested in babying them, because we are interested in their growth. So, if it is you want to make your son become the best version of himself, if it is that you want your son to be an individual who has confidence, a young man who is competent, give him chores to do. Now, that may seem a little weird, but I'll tell you, you don't have to pay me any mind. Let's just look at the studies. There is a Harvard study that shows that, well, stated here, sparing chores spoils children and their future selves, the study says. So in essence, what it is saying is that when you give them structure, you give them chores, and you give them responsibilities, it makes them a lot more likely to succeed in life. Researchers found that if you implement this one small thing in your child's life, they're more likely to be happy as adults, they have more empathy towards other people, and they are more successful in their careers. Make him go wash the plate then. Let him go outside and clean the dog mess. Having your children do chores gives them a sense of self-worth, and it helps them to realize that they're contributing to a larger ecosystem. They become more selfless. They become more willing and able to see the needs of other people around them. Because competence builds confidence. When a young man is competent, he's more likely to be confident. And that confidence is extremely important, because oftentimes when we see issues with individuals, those issues are spurred on because of the fact that they lack confidence. And an adult male who lacks confidence, who has a low self-esteem, is not a male that we want to be around, because his responses may be quite destructive. You okay so far? All is right in the world? No, I am telling you that you need to make your son go downstairs or wherever, go to the kitchen and go wash plates, wash the wares. You probably are saying to yourself that that's going to be like pulling teeth. Are you having issues with chores? Chances are you may be having issues with chores. Now, what tends to happen is a parent, especially a mother, will say, you know, I need you I need you to go and wash the plates. And your son will say, yes, mommy. No, you heard, or you said, I need you to go and wash your plates. What he heard is, no, you said, I needed to wash the plates, or wash the wares, or wash the dishes. That's what you said. What you meant was, I needed to go and wash the wares or the plates. No, you never use that word, no. And in his mind, what he heard is, in the next 2 to 3 hours or 2 days, feel free whenever you feel like it to go and wash the plates, wash the wares. You never gave him a time. So again, because men and women communicate differently and men tend to be more literal in their statements, never hear no, he's not getting up, no. He's playing a game, he's doing something else. He'll do it sometime in the future, 2 hours from now, a day and a half from now, depending on when you come back and realize what's going on, and then you get vexed and you start to quarrel. But he said, yes, I'm going to do it. I never told you when. So since we have established that men need structure, men love structure, men thrive on structure, that's why men love games. Since we have stated that chores are a way to give them that structure, and according to research, chores allows them to be happier individuals in the future. Since we have stated that men and women communicate differently, the question is, how do we then get them as mothers to wash the dishes when you tell them to wash the dishes? That is an excellent question. Here is a simple trick that works, I would say, all the time. You get them a countdown. So what you say is, all right, here's the deal. In 30 minutes, I needed to go and do X, Y, Z. So now he has a time in his mind that he's working with. The best result is not given when you say, do this now. Because as I said before, men think with a cue in mind. So he has a number of things in his brain already that he plans to do. So it's going to be difficult for him to just cut what he's doing now and move on immediately. My suggestion is you say, all right, in 30 minutes, I needed to do X. Now, generally, there's a tendency for mothers to wait, women in general. Wait, and then when it's really bad, then they speak. My suggestion is, do not wait until it is that bad. Tell him, I needed to do this in 30 minutes. Then when he has 20 minutes left, you say, all right, you have 20 minutes left. Then when he has 10 minutes left, it's all right, in 10 minutes, I needed to do X. Now, you're not nagging, you're counting down. It's not as if every minute you're going to be coming in, but you just tell him he has 30 minutes. In 30 minutes, you want him to do X. 20 minutes left, you say, all right, 20 minutes from now. 10 minutes left, you say, all right, remember, in 10 minutes, you have X to do. And you're not having a whole conversation about this. You're stating a fact, you're moving on. When the deadline comes, you need to be firm. You're not repeating yourself. Now, mothers sometimes believe that being firm is repeating yourself. No. There's a reason why daddy speaks once. He's firm, and they don't ask twice when he speaks. So you want to get in the mood of saying it once, and after the once, well, meaning when it gets to the deadline, okay, I needed to do X. And then after that, there needs to be a repercussion, not a back and forth. Sometimes when you ask them, I say, why is it that, you don't listen to mommy as swiftly as when you listen to daddy? Because mommy just like to talk. And let's be honest, sometimes that's a fact. So being firm is not the same as repeating yourself. We okay so far?
Yes. So Kimberly actually said her son is listening, her eldest son is listening and laughing in agreement.
All right. I see. So here's a solution or a continuation of the solution. This is a trick where everybody gets happy at the end of it. I mean, they're gonna complain at the beginning, but no, as I said before, we're not interested in the comfort. We're interested in them becoming a better version of themselves. Everybody get a whiteboard. On this whiteboard, place this whiteboard in a space where everyone can see it. Write on this whiteboard all of the chores and tasks that are needed for that young man or those young men. Whenever he asks to go and play a game, whenever he asks to go outside, if the things that he needs to do for that period are not ticked off, he can't. It's a game, right? Life is a game. These are the rules. He can't go and play that video game. He can't go and watch XYZ. He can't go outside and play football unless these chores have been done. Now, of course, what needs to be done is you will have a conversation with him about what these chores are and agree on what the consequences will be. No, it's interesting because they know that they need consequences. And I remember once when I asked, more than once, I asked a class of young men, 35 young men, what are the characteristics of a good father? And all of them said, someone who disciplines. So they know discipline is necessary. So have the chores written on the whiteboard. So whether he needs to take out the garbage, whether he needs to wash the dishes, whatever, wash the wares, whatever it is, let those be there. And if he wants to do anything in particular, then he has to make sure those things are ticked off. It might be a little bit slow at the beginning, but if you're consistent and you do not compromise and the consequences are done, which would probably be him not being able to do something that he wants to do, after a while, when it becomes a routine, when it becomes a structure, it will start to flow much easier. But for this to work, you have to be consistent. Now, this is important because mothers, yes, mothers, have a tendency of when the sun looks in your eyes and smiles, oh gosh, mommy, your heart melt like butter in hot sun. All of a sudden, all of that resolve gets melted away. We don't want to do that. Please do not do that. It doesn't help. No, this is a wonderful picture. By the way, disclaimer, there are gonna be some uncomfortable conversations, but like I said before, we're not interested in comfort, right? We're interested in the best outcome. Now, this is a wonderful picture. This is a picture of a father and a daughter. And father and daughter relationships are extremely important. They're wonderful. This is a cute picture highlighting the joys of that father-daughter experience. However, a man cannot teach a girl how to become a woman. He may give suggestions, he may give his opinion, he may give his perspective, but he has never been a woman, and therefore he does not know what it means to be a woman. He has an idea, but he can't tell her how to be a woman. You okay with that? Solid, right? Makes sense. Similarly, a woman cannot teach a boy to be a man. It's impossible. She's never been a man. She doesn't know what it means to be a man. She can give her opinions and her ideas and her perspective, but she can't teach a boy how to be a man.
What do you think the biggest thing that guys struggle with is?
Fatherless child.
Fatherless, like not having a dad in their life. Like this, I'm being real.
Right, like
not having a father figure. No father figure. No father figure. And it's not even like no jokes, bro. My dad's in prison.
somewhere in Florida, I don't know.
My dad's doing drugs. Like, for real. And my dad's in prison. Like father figures are like. It's something about like it was one guy that didn't take care of his kid. He had kids. He didn't take care of his disciples. We live in these like shitty areas with no father figures, bro.
People like they have kids. females expect them to know how to cheat, but they have a bell roll to show them how to cheat. Treat a female right.
So those were young men who were saying that their biggest challenge is not having a father figure. Studies, because it's all about the studies, we can speak, but if there is research, then we need to speak about the research as well, right? Research show that children with more involved fathers tend to perform better in school. Now, of course, there are always the outliers, but facts is facts. You're a lot more likely to go and study when you know that there's a reason why fathers don't speak twice. Studies also show that fathers who are more involved in their children's lives tend to have children who are more emotionally stable. Now, in Jamaica, 85% of all youth in prison grow up in a fatherless home, according to Dr. Michael Coombs. And 75% of teenagers in prisons grow up in a fatherless home. In fact, that particular study also highlighted the fact that 70% of teenage pregnancies come from fatherless homes. The effects of an involved father: more emotionally stable, perform better in school, and more socially adjusted. Absent father, like I said before, 90% of gang members come from fatherless homes. 85% of youth in prison come from fatherless homes. 70% of teenage pregnancies come from fatherless homes. Now, if your child's biological father is not present, it's important to find a safe alternative to be there for your child. Emphasis there on safe. Whether it's a grandfather, uncle, etc., a coach, but especially in this world that we live in, the biggest emphasis there is safe alternative. Now, in my own life, because my father traveled a lot, there were at least 3 other persons who were major in my life as males. He taught me the importance of family, importance of truth, the importance of a positive outlook in life. And of the 3, one of them was biological. Thankfully, they were all safe alternatives. Especially nowadays, the emphasis is the safeness, right? So what does spending time look like? Now, spending time is not simply having them do something that you want them to do as a father or as a father figure. Because when I was growing up, my father loved cricket and he would want me to watch cricket every day with him. I hated cricket. Cricket came on a Saturday when my cartoons are supposed to be on, and therefore I viewed cricket as the nemesis, and I hated it because once there was cricket, there was no cartoons. Do things that both of you will enjoy, not boring test cricket. I'm still toting, I'm sorry. So an example, what we did a while back is we had some fathers come in and we had them get a feel. Fathers and sons came in together and get a feel of how to do archery. We basically gave them options in terms of telling them that they need to spend time with their children. What does that look like? So we gave them an option to see if that was something that they could do together as a hobby in the future. So, mix it up. It doesn't always have to be football and cricket. It can be something new. No, I did say we're going to have some heavy conversations. So this next section is very heavy. Very heavy. So, very heavy. What does the presence of a male figure do in the life of a young man? Protects them from predators.
How did you get them alone?
Grooming. I would check out their family situation. I would check out their clothing to see how well they were, financially. I would check out their social interaction with other kids. When we were on the ballparks, or on the gym floor, you know, I would make sure which ones I wanted to molest. I would give them special attention, congratulate them, talk to them when I know that I would never be allowed to talk to anybody else. You know, aside from everybody, I would give them the attention that an official is not supposed to give anybody. And it made them feel like, wow, he's paying me attention. You know, it is a direct form of grooming.
Were there certain characteristics that you looked for in children before molesting them?
In children, yes, but more I also looked at their families. If I thought the father was a threat, I would not approach the child. If I thought that the child had friends that he would tell, I would not approach him. If I thought the child had friends that were in the same capacity he was, I would approach him. For the simple fact that if I could molest him, I could lure him into believing, grooming him into believing that he would enjoy it. And therefore, I could manipulate him into having his other friends come and be molested by me as well.
So perhaps a child that doesn't really have a whole lot of friends, maybe not really a strong family, things like that.
Yes, no spiritual values, weak in education, you know, needs help in many ways, even from split parenting, you know, has a mother who may be having problems with the family, you know, well, here comes superhero in to help out, you know, wow, well, thank you very much. No problem. You ever need me to take them away for the night so you can have a night out? No problem. It works.
All right. Now, usually after that video, everyone has a very sober expression on their faces. So I suspect that expression is currently on many faces right now. One of the things he mentioned is the fact that if he saw the father as a threat, fathers and father figures are very important. That allows, it reduces the probability of the young man becoming targeted. And a father figure also helps to teach him different life skills like changing a car tire, how to tie a tie, how to speak to a young lady. Being in that person's life, of course, the more they are in the life of that young individual, the more that the relationship is strengthened, and the more the relationship is strengthened, then it's more likely they will speak if there is an issue. No, we don't have a lot of time, so we have to run to something else, and we'll have a chance for questions after. This is one that everybody is complaining about right now: cell phone addiction. Some of us as adults are also guilty of it. Now, another study, and we have the references below, stated that compared to teens who only spend an hour on electronic devices daily, teens who spend 5 or more hours a day on electronic devices are 71% more likely to exhibit suicide risk factors. 41% of teenagers feel overwhelmed by the number of text alerts they receive on a daily basis. 85% of teens surveyed claims it can be difficult to stop using technology, such as the internet and smartphones, once they've started using it. And 67% of teens reported losing sleep due to phone or internet use late at night. Now, you know, some of your sons are on the phone when his little tail is supposed to be sleeping. For sure. Which means wasted time, because they're online after bedtime. It means that they're unable to function or concentrate during school. And oftentimes when they reach school late, you may have left earlier than they have. And you expect them to reach school at a particular time. And they reach school late, and I ask them, hey, why are you just coming to school? Sir, I got up late. I said, why did you get up late? And then one of the friends tell them, no, sir, he was playing game last night. That's why. Yes, 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 yes. You in your bed, fast asleep, and your son is there on his computer or his cell phone playing game right through the night. When he gets to school, it's difficult for him to concentrate. And it's all, you know, you'll sorry, you know, boys will be boys. But when it becomes the norm, I mean, if it happens once a month is one thing, or if it happens once a term, hopefully, or never at all. But what happens is there are some young men who are always late because they're always on the game. And if they're always on the game, what happens after that? It becomes a cycle. Because they start having poor performance in school, because how can you understand anything if you are extremely tired? You're extremely tired. So now you're stressed out because this teacher putting things on the board and I don't understand what madness she have on the board. What madness this man just told me a while ago. So he's now stressed. And if he's stressed, he's now tempted to give up on learning. And it's not that he doesn't have the ability, it's just that he's not applying himself because he's addicted to the phone. And cell phone addiction is something that is new, and therefore it's something that we don't necessarily have a conversation about. So we're having a conversation now. We are having that conversation now. Where is my cursor? There we are. As always, we have suggestions and solutions. Speak with your son. Encourage offline activity. Let him go outside, go touch grass, climb a tree. Just don't break anything. Let him go climb a tree. How many of our children nowadays know how to climb a tree? Like, seriously. It is a skill that is quickly dying. Secure devices at bedtime. At bedtime, take your phone that your son normally uses and keep it. It's yours, right? Your money spent, your phone that your son uses, take it in the night. You shouldn't be using it at bedtime. What you can do is also allow games only on weekends. And of course, by that, I don't mean games on the phone, because if he has the phone, then he may play it even during the day. But what I mean is if he has a PlayStation 5 or some other game like that, only on the weekends. So not on a Sunday night, because a Sunday night is a school night. Only on weekends. And make sure you monitor the phone as well. Because there's something you have to appreciate about that phone, right? It is basically a doorway into your home. You lock your doors all the time when you go to bed, but your cell phone is a door. Have you been practicing locking that door? It's important because one of the challenges we have now in the Caribbean and the world in general is the fact that there are a number of individuals who are currently being sextorted. And unfortunately, it has led to suicides within the Caribbean. So we have individuals who pose as, let me give you a story, and this is a true story. A young man went to a school bazaar or a school fair, got home, went on Instagram and was messaged by a young lady, and she said, hey, I like your vibe. I saw you today. Your clothes look fresh or sharp or whatever these young people are saying these days. It depends on, of course, the culture and the age bracket. You get a point. Anyway, she said she liked him. And the conversation started getting heated, and this young man was in second form. The conversation started getting heated, and he started sending her pictures of himself, of places that he shouldn't be sending, which means he's now sending child pornography, because he's a child, right? Reaches to school, because it's on the weekend, on Monday, to realize that he was being catfished by one of the persons in his year group. So he's embarrassed and angry. it could have even been worse, because it could have been a case where somebody said, all right, here's the deal. You see these images, I'm gonna send them to your parents or someone else unless you pay me money. And what happens when this happens is some persons, because they're so embarrassed, one, they may be blackmailed into sending more images. Two, they may be blackmailed into sending other person contacts so that the person may do that to them as well. All of the above, or they may become embarrassed and take their own life. So this is a conversation that needs to be had with your sons, because unfortunately, it has become way too common in the Caribbean. This is an example. This is an article speaking about a young lady who was sextorted. We're not going to go into it. I might just give you the link and ask Leanne to send it to you so you can check it out. Most important thing is monitoring your son's devices. So these are 3 software that you can use to monitor: Kaspersky Safe Kids, Microsoft Family Safety, and Custodio. I believe that's the pronunciation. Feel free to take a clip of this, and we can also send you these as well in case you want this information. How are we going so far? You okay?
Yeah, I believe so. If you all have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or you can wait until the end to ask your questions. But from all, yes, very good, good, lots of thumbs up. So go ahead.
Awesome. All right. Now, there is something else that we have to discuss. Trying to rush through this as quickly as possible. We want our sons to have great relationships. We want them to be resilient as it pertains to cyberbullying and being able to avoid being sextorted, etc. And that is emotional intelligence. Being able to handle stresses, being able to be resilient regardless of the pressures that are around, understanding how you feel, understanding why you feel how you feel, and being able to get off the emotional edge. All of that is emotional intelligence, and that is important for a young man, a male, people in general. We're talking about males here. It's important for a young man to become emotionally intelligent. And I'll just use an example. This is an example of what happens when you're not emotionally intelligent. One individual was angry with his ex-wife, and he went to her office, shot her, ran out of I did say we're talking about heavy conversations, right? Ran out of the building, ran to a car that he thought was his, because his adrenaline is pumping. It's a car that looks like his. Saw this young man in the back seat, shot the young man. The young man passed away because of his injuries, and then went elsewhere and committed suicide. So one man drastically, directly, negatively impacted 3 lives. The wife lived, but the ex-husband died, and the young man who was minding his own business in the back of a vehicle that also died. This is an example of an individual who is unable to regulate his emotions. We don't want this for our sons. So one of the things that we have to do to build them up, to make them more resilient, is to challenge our sons to improve, to discipline them, not punish them, to reward him for excellence, because we're going to push them, right? We don't care about their comfort. We care about them being better, but we're not punishing them. We're like a coach. A coach rewards whenever someone does well. And we have to believe in them, and we have to make them believe in themselves as well. We have to make our young men recognize that their worth, that they are created by the Creator, and therefore inherently they have worth. Their worth is not related to the relationships that they have. So if a relationship ends, that doesn't mean that their worth ends. The worth is not related to the shoes that they have on or the clothes that they wear, because if that goes away, does that then mean that they have no more worth? They have to understand that having been born, having been made, they intrinsically have worth. They have a lot to offer the world, and therefore it is incumbent upon them to be the best version of themselves. We have to tell them that. We have to make them understand that. Having a close relationship also makes it more likely for them to confide in you if they're being sextorted, if they're having issues and stresses at school or even at work when they start to work. Additionally, telling them what your life was like when you were their age helps them to bridge the gap between this person is my parent, but they are infallible. And therefore, if I make a mistake, I can't go to them at all because they've never made errors. And therefore, the response is going to always be negative. There's nothing wrong with you disciplining them, you know, but they also must be able to come to you for protection from the outside. So sometimes they may say some things to you and you wonder what madness is this, and you want to say what you want to say, but the first thing you need to do is listen and understand, and perhaps then respond. But it can't be that as they say something, you react, because a reaction makes them less likely to communicate. And if they are less likely to communicate, then it's less likely for you to be able to protect them when they need to be protected. You okay?
I am smart. I am blessed. I can do anything. I am smart. I am blessed. I can do anything.
That sweet moment, moving and inspiring so many people. 3-year-old Ian saying his daily affirmation on a simple walk to school. His mom teaching him that important lesson just a year ago. He is smart, he is blessed, he can do anything. And look at that face.
He's cute too.
He's a cutie.
All right, parents are doing a good job.
Yeah.
It's never too early for them to know that they are smart, they are blessed, and they can do anything. And of course, for persons who require more serious help, we have a number of lines here, a number of hotlines here. So we have for Barbados, Lifeline Barbados, 536-4500. That's 536-4500. For Jamaica, we have the Mental Health and Suicide Prevention Hotline. Numbers 888-639-5433. Numbers 888-639-5433. And for Trinidad and Tobago, we have the www.findcaretc.com that has a number of services, and the suicide hotline is 800-5588. That's 800-5588. I'm not sure if anyone else from any other countries in the Caribbean are here, but I grabbed 3. And if there are any questions, let's have them.
Okay, thank you so much, Alvin. Certainly lots of thought-provoking material, and not just thought-provoking, but practical ways in which we can build our boys that can be not just applied as parents, but as teachers, because I know we have a couple of teachers as well. So we'll open the floor for questions. You can go ahead and unmute your microphones if you have a question, or if you prefer to ask a question in the chat. So, you know, just giving some feedback. What an impactful session. Thank you. Very informative, very informative. Thanks for sharing. If you have any specific questions that you may like to ask, please go ahead. You can unmute your microphone and share at this time. Or even if there are particular areas in where you may want more information shared in relation to boys, we can also do future sessions. And while persons are getting ready to ask those questions, Alvin, I would love if you could go ahead and probably share how they can reach out to you and some of the work that you're doing.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. So we're doing a number of things. So we are on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at the Manly Man series. And an upcoming thing we're doing is we're talking about Roblox because all of these young people on Roblox. So we're demystifying the Roblox platform, highlighting some of the activities predators use to contact children on the Roblox platform and sharing ways to keep our children safe online. Funny enough, when I started advertising this on Instagram, young people were messaging me. And one of them, when I looked on her profile, it says primary school. So there was a primary school young lady messaging me, asking me about Roblox. So she messaging an adult, strange male on Instagram. So, these are some of the conversations we have to have because it's dangerous out there.
So we do have a question. What is the difference between discipline and punishment?
Discipline is something that makes them better. Punishment is something that punishment is punitive, so it makes them fear you. It's not, the response is totally, what's the word I'm looking for? The response must match the action. So let us say that they left the dishes out or they didn't wash the plates. And then you go inside the room and all of a sudden one of their tooth is now on the floor. That's punishment. Discipline is where you express to them, okay, here's the deal. This is what you should have done. This is what needs to be done. And these are the steps I'm going to take to make sure that you don't do it again. And when someone can agree with you that, hey, I mean, if they're reasonable, sometimes they might kick and scream and complain. But the difference between discipline is that discipline makes them better and discipline makes them fix their actions without fearing you. Punishment is when they hate you and they can't wait to move out and they'll never come back and see you ever. So, and children know that discipline is necessary. And that's one of the things that I always find fascinating. Whenever I ask them, what are some of the characteristics of a good parent? They always say a parent who disciplines. And when I ask them why, they say, because if you don't discipline me, you don't love me. I found that so fascinating.
So we have another question. How to control when the household is split based on discipline? So I'm assuming, meaning probably one parent operates differently from the other.
That is a big problem because children, and I've been guilty of it already, if I know that they're going to tell me yes, and I'm going to ask mommy. I'm not asking mommy, I'm asking daddy. What needs to happen is an honest conversation with both parents saying, all right, here's the deal. Honey, I know that you don't think this is important. I know that you think these things are okay. But we have to come to the point where we agree that there must be some cutoff. And since we both love the child, then we have to agree on a thing that works. So that is a conversation that needs to be had. Of course, if when you put down your rules, the other person literally in front of the child says no, then some counseling and some prayer is what I would suggest. But having that conversation is important because children will play parents against each other. So the conversation, and if the conversation doesn't work, some counseling and some prayer.
And I would just like to add, perhaps in the case where you don't have the support, you just have to continue to be consistent in spite of.
Yeah. Because support also means, generally, if the person isn't supportive, it also means they tend to be less hands-on. And if they're less hands-on, then you being hands-on and your consistency will still be an agent of change.
So any other questions, comments before we close off? Alvin, you did not want to share about
boot camp.
We have another question. Good evening, all. Excellent session, Mr. Brown. As a teacher in an all-boys school with entitled students and parents who allow them to get away with all their nonsense, what would you suggest to help them improve or to get them to behave? In my opinion, the problem is not really the child, it's more the parent. So Alvin, you could take this one, but I could also add from my experience as well.
Yeah. Go through, let me hear you.
Right, so taught all boys, right? 18 years. So this is my one of the key things I've found with dealing with parents who sometimes might, and sometimes, let's be fair, they don't know how, right? So sometimes, you know, parents parent based on, okay, I'm going to provide my child with everything I did not have, and they think that that's good parenting. So let's start there. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. But one of the key things is, as a form teacher, I met with all of my parents and I set my ground rules. And I told them, I said, you know, we're not always going to agree, but let's agree on this one thing. We all want what's best for our boys. And therefore, like a good in any relationship, we can't quarrel in front of them. So even if, you know, they do something wrong, I can't go bash the parents. And if they feel I did something wrong, don't bash me in front of your sons. Come and have a conversation with me. And what I found from establishing a good relationship with the parents from the beginning, very rarely would I have parents who would oppose me. And from the 18 years, I mean, I could be like, your son came to school and needed a haircut. They would say, Miss Pear, you go ahead. And Alvin could attest to things like that. You know, I would pull them off of the football team. I would say, call the parents and say, your son is a great footballer, but he's not playing today. And because of that relationship, you know, it has remained where now my sons see me and they say, Miss, look your grandchild, you know, they would literally say that. So it means, you know, becoming sometimes a second parent. It does take time, it does take energy, it does take patience, but consistency, even with the parents, makes a world of a difference. So, I mean, and you can feel free if, because I'm assuming you're a teacher, you can feel free to reach out to me and we could have some further conversations about engaging with boys in the classroom and the parents, if you wish.
Yeah. You know, I always say when a child recognizes that you care, you can bad them up at any time. So when the relationship is built, like I have some young men that even now when I no longer teach them and then fifth form and they're doing any rubbish and I see them and I draw them up, they're humble because they know sir is interested in my best, in me becoming better, and having that relationship as well with the parents. You're quite right. Once the parents recognize that there is a certain level of concern and intent, they're more likely to acquiesce to, yeah, and they know, you know, they know when that sometimes the son is rubbish. I remember one day I was asking a young man a question, and I was leading on a line for him to admit, as, oh, okay, sir, all right, fine. No, I'm wrong. And oftentimes they respect you when you're more strict. So if it is that you just can't be bothered, then they're a lot less likely to respect it. And they might stress you out, you know, but those same young men are the same ones who will not pass you on the road. Even though they were trying to make you grow some gray hair, they will not pass you on the road. So sometimes they want to see how far they can go, but they will respect you in the long run, even the ones that are entitled.
So we have a couple more questions. Sorry, we have a couple more questions coming in. Somebody asked, how can I, as a mom, explain the physical changes my son is experiencing during puberty? So that's one. And this next question is, as a single parent where the father comes in and out, how to manage the respect discipline or based on education where the child is affected and education is dropping? So 2 questions.
Well, for what my parents did is they had a really good book on puberty that actually had both male and female. So, you know, I'm assuming when my parents bought it, they just handed it down. That was their way. I mean, you know, they instead of having to go through the awkward conversation, they had a really good book and, you know, you read it. So if it is that it's an awkward thing, you can get a really good, but you have to make sure you read the book first, because some of those books are a little bit off. So don't just buy a book because it looks good, but you have to make sure that it's a book that fits with your beliefs, especially nowadays. So that is one option. Another option is having, if you have a brother or someone who he's close to that can have that conversation with him as well, that is another option. You may also have videos on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube that will help to explain, and you can say, hey, you know, I saw this video, what do you think about it? Watch it and you know, let's have a conversation about it afterwards. So you just slide it in. It doesn't have to be, son, I have seen that you're growing. It doesn't have to be viewed as a heavy conversation. So any of those options are possible. On the second question, could you
So, well, we have 2 persons asking pretty much the same thing in terms of, you know, single parents. One has a father coming in and out. How do you manage the respect and discipline and, you know, discipline and education where the child is affected and education is dropping, and the other person is asking, as a single mother who has no male role models, etc., she is finding discipline to be the most challenging thing.
So one of the biggest things about young men is they need identity. And their identity is tied to the males around them. So the father coming in and out affects him because he is tied to his father. You know, the father is the first hero that you have. So it is going to be a challenge when he comes and then he goes, because it is going to negatively affect the young man. What I would suggest is to find a positive male role model who will be consistent. So whether the father comes or goes, he still has an anchor somewhere else that will help to alleviate that. I've seen instances where parents have been going through a divorce and the father is not even in the same country, and it really negatively affected the young man, but he was able to find a safe, positive role model to help him navigate that time. So that would be a big solution, finding a healthy alternative, finding ways for him to develop himself and develop his competence so that his confidence can be built up, because you may not recognize this, but that also affects how he views himself. And he may try to react negatively, and that may also be a reason why his grade is deteriorating. So build him up, find a healthy male role model, and give him ways in which to build his competence. Funny enough, one of the things I also do is I have a boot camp where I help young men to build competence, where we teach them basic electrical repair, basic car maintenance, how to cook, basic self-defense, plumbing, etc. Because young men developing skills helps them with their competence, with their confidence. And also we speak about emotional intelligence, because at that age, all right, one of the things I've done is I've interacted with young men from at-risk schools. And when I talk to the young men from at-risk schools, and I say, there's a way for you to have a conversation with them that makes sense to them. So the biggest thing I always tell them is that here's the deal. What is it that you need to do? What are the characteristics that you need to develop to be a better father, to be a good father? And when they state them, I say, how are you going to work on those characteristics so that you can be that kind of a father? Because almost all of them generally have a negative relationship with their father, but they know that they do not want to be that person when they become a father. So I say that to say this. Even if there is a negative interaction between the father and the son, subconsciously or consciously, or both subconsciously and consciously, that son wants to be a better father to his future sons. So there are times when we have to come from that angle and say, all right, here's the deal, son. I know there is a lot of challenges that we have as parents, and you may be negatively affected by it, but I want to give you the skills so that you can be a better father for your son and have a better relationship than what we have. Starting them from that point, having the discussion that, hey, I know this affects you, maybe also working on having counseling, puts them in a better position to move forward.
Yeah, and I just want to do the question about being a female and not having male role models. I can speak to it from being a female teacher and things that I've learned in terms of how to interact, a lot of which Alvin spoke about in terms of how we communicate with them. And I can give you a little insight. You know, I had taught girls before, and I said I was a great teacher there. And then I came into the boys' school and I said, what is happening? What did I do? And my first couple of classes, you know, it was like nobody was listening to me. And I would have taught before, and I thought I was a good teacher, right? And then I realized, you know, it really is about how we approach boys. And I don't think it's much different because I now have I mentioned, a 13-year-old son who is now going through puberty, etc. And it's like, oh, I'm like, okay, thank God I taught boys for so many years, because now it's like, okay, his behavior is, you know, normal. And so one of the key things is really that consistency. Even if you don't have a male in your life, it means that you now have to make sure that you are the rules, you're more consistent, talk to your boys. One of the things I found as being a teacher at a boys' school is that from the time the boys hit secondary school, we kind of just leave them on their own. You know, it's like almost like we don't spend the time, you know, they're big, and boys, even at that age, they're babies, they are babies, you know, they might pretend to huff and puff, and but they really want the love and concern. They actually yearn for that. And we've seen that a lot with boys coming into the schools, in the secondary schools. So consistency, love them, talk to them. I mean, they may not open up, and, you know, you might in the teenage age, you know, where you ask them, how was your day? Good. You know, and they start to grunt and short sentences, but find a way to connect with them, you know, sit them down, turn off the TV, take the cell phone and say, listen, round the dinner table, start a conversation and say, you know, so what girl are you talking to? You know, just, and you laugh it off, you know, make that connection, but also be consistent with what they are doing. Remove devices out of their bedroom. My children are not allowed to carry their devices. They have a fixed bedtime as well. We have an agreement. You do homework, you study. If you have time before your bedtime, you can go on the phone. But Fridays, I don't harass them. On Fridays, no homework, nothing. You do what you want on a Friday. So, you know, build that kind of understanding. We give and take, but communication, consistency, and of course, you know, continue to pray for your children as well, right? I mean, if you really say that, especially the boys, because they are targets.
In this day and age, you have to pray for them. You can't be letting them come out of your house in the morning and not pray for them. Not in this day and age.
So, S. Ali, I'm not sure what your first name is, but are you female? I'm assuming a female teacher. I don't want to say Miss Ali and then it's a Mr. Yes. What emotional intelligence strategies would you suggest to help create a supportive classroom? Strategies for girls really work for boys. And in this particular context, I would like to invite you to reach out to me and we could have a chat about that. I will definitely share things that I have used. So I'm going to put my email and you can reach out and we can set up have a conversation. That's fine. I can share some strategies that I used over the years that worked. All right. So I'm not seeing, are there any more questions? Yeah. So I think, Alvin, I'm seeing probably a part 2 where we can just have some open discussions. Maybe people could send some questions beforehand and we could just have some discussion, some sharing, parents who have boys who it worked well with them, etc. But please reach out to us if you have specific areas you'd like us to discuss. And, I really would like to thank Alvin for sharing and thank you all for asking your questions and for sharing. Please reach out to Alvin as well, connect with him, the Manly Man Creator. He's on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You have his cell phone number there as well, so you could find out more about the sessions that he has coming up. And of course, you could always reach out to us on 21st Century Educators as well. We will be continuing to do more parent sessions because we understand the importance of the parents, teachers working together. All right. So Alvin, thank you so much. You have, yes.
One more thing. Thank you for having me. One more thing. The feedback form.
Oh, yes. You want to put it? Let me share it.
Yes, please.
All right, so we're kindly asking if you all could give some feedback. I'm sharing the form now in the chat before you all disappear. Just click the link. And of course, Alvin, lots of kudos in the chat so you can take a look, right? Everybody's saying they learned a lot. And so thank you very much. I mean, it's always good when parents and teachers come together. We know, it's really a team effort to get this thing done. So continue looking out for sessions from us as well as from Alvin and the Manly Man series. And we say good night. I've put the form in the chat. I will also send it out via email when I'm sending out a copy of the link. And of course, please also share with your friends, so that they learn as well. So thank you very much. And everyone, we'd like to wish you a very good night. See you all next time and look out for our next session for parenting. Bye, everyone.
Take care.